Alright, well, welcome back everybody. Tonight we're on the cold-blooded GS 500. Oh man, I think we between warming it up at the house and getting on the main street here, probably got a good 5 minutes or so, and she's still warming up. Well, we still got a little bit of daylight left. Come out here and take the opportunity to enjoy the GS 500 in this beautiful weather. Come chat with you guys a little bit. So today the plan's kind of to talk about a conversation I had with somebody recently. With all the stuff going on in the world, it can be it is a scary world out there right now, especially with everything that's going on. And as many of you know, I was a member in the United States Army. I did so for almost 10 years, about 9.5, and one of those years involved me serving overseas in Iraq in 2003-2004. I was a Mark 19 gunner, for those of you who know what that is. Sure, we'll put a picture in there somewhere. Yeah, so conversation I've had with people and everything is going on right now is one of the things, one of the thought processes that I went through when we were sitting there in Fort Carson, Colorado, getting ready to load up on a ship or hop in a plane and head on over to the Middle East. So a little bit of background on that. So we didn't get to Kuwait until May, and we were in Kuwait for about 2 months waiting for all our equipment to arrive on the ships. And we didn't, our battalion didn't leave Kuwait to head to Iraq until July. And again, this is 2003, so the first year of the war. And at that point, the war was pretty much over. Major combat operations started in, I think, March, and it didn't take us long. I mean, the war was pretty much over in April. So by the time we got there, war is pretty much over. But a couple things that, for me as a soldier getting ready to go over there and seeing everything that's going on over there and kind of looking forward, not looking forward isn't the right word, but looking to see what I have waiting for me when I go over there. There was a death toll at that point. And at that point, if I remember right, there were about 2,000 or 3,000 U.S. soldiers lost their lives over there. And as terrible as that is, and as much of a tragedy as that is, that number, that 2,000 to 3,000 that had lost their lives over there, it had gotten me to thinking, what does this mean for me? How, what impact is this going to have on me? How dangerous over there is it really? And at the time there were, I think there were in the neighborhood of like 1 million U.S. troops over there, between all the armed forces. And for 2,000 to have lost their lives, that kind of gave me a number to look at and say, hey, of the 1 million soldiers that are over there, 2,000 to 3,000 have lost their lives. And as terrible as that is, that really gave me, kind of a number that I can look at to look at my own risk, see what my own risk was over there. And that kind of led me to look at, what the risks were just living a normal everyday life here in the United States. And to be honest with you, I was safer over in Iraq in a war zone than I was just living my life every day in the States. As crazy as that may seem, that's what it worked out to be. It was actually safer living in a war zone, being a member of the U.S. military, than I would have been staying at home. And with everything going on nowadays, I kind of adopted the same mentality. That the first couple weeks, months, what have you, nobody knew what was going on. Nobody knew what to expect. Nobody knew what this thing was going to be like. But you know, after a short period of time, you know, about a month or two, we really, you know, again, as unfortunate as the numbers were, and the people that have lost their lives the last year and a half, you know, as unfortunate as all that is, it is absolutely terrible. It's terrible for any... The loss of life is always terrible. I think anybody can agree on that. The loss of life is always a terrible thing. It's always a tragedy, especially for the ones who that life affected. But again, kind of getting back to the numbers, you know, if we just look at this thing, let's just look at the numbers of this thing. And early on, like I said, after about a month or two, when we had some numbers where we could actually look at, you know, I started looking at the numbers, you know, like how, you know, what do I really have to be worried about here, if anything? And I looked at those numbers, and I calculated the odds, and for me, so there are two different numbers that come up. You know, if I caught the disease, me and my health and my age range, I have like a 99.95% chance of survival. And I recently just checked the numbers again, and those numbers hold true to this day. So the numbers 2 months into it are pretty much exactly the numbers that we have right now. Really no change there. So yeah, if I contract that disease, I have a 99.95% chance of surviving it. And then, you know, on the other side, it's a 0.05% chance that I won't make it. That's roughly like 1 in 2,000, if I'm not mistaken. Now that's if I catch the disease. And you look at all the numbers, and you look at all the people in my age group who have caught it, you know, at least the ones that they know about. And you just look at all the people that are in my age group, just in general, and every day, just walking around, you know, just living my life, my actual odds of dying for this, you know, me, it's different for everybody, but for me, it was, I'd like to say, like a 99.98% survival rate. So that leaves me with a daily odd of dying of this of 0.002%. And I think that's like 1 in 100,000 or something like that. Now look at this. So every day, just walking around, I have a 1 in 100,000 chance of dying from this disease. The next question is, am I going to let that risk change what I do every day? And for me, you know, this is me early on, first couple months of this whole thing going on. The answer to that question was absolutely not. It is absolutely not worth me living in fear of this disease for those low odds. And again, that's for me. Those are my odds. Those are my personal feelings. You know, everybody's odds are different, and I really urge anybody out there to really stop and look at those and look at the numbers and see really what your odds are, because it can be just absolutely life-changing. I've known people that this has just really just absolutely stopped their life, stopped it dead in the tracks. They're so afraid of this thing that it's just completely stopped their life. And I am of the firm belief that a life lived in fear is not a life worth living. Now, if I also believe that is something that is worthy of being fearful of, then absolutely, you know, be afraid of the things that you need to be afraid of. Absolutely, that's just natural survival instincts right there. But you know, we're humans. We have these cognitive brains. We have the ability to think about these things and consciously, you know, rationally look at what the real risk is, and we can make those decisions for ourselves. And again, for me, the low of the risk that I have, it allowed me to make the decision to not worry about it any more than I deemed necessary, which was very little, and it allowed me to continue to have lived my life for the last year and a half and not really had too much of an effect on it. And I've done so. You know, I have plenty of friends who kind of have similar mentalities and have continued to live their lives, and for us it really hasn't changed much. You know, and again, you know, I think we pretty much all know at least one person who's been affected by this, and if you're in that group that has unfortunately lost somebody from this, you have my my deepest and utter condolences. Like I said, every life lost is an absolute tragedy, and my heart absolutely goes out to anybody who's lost somebody to this. And I really hope that doesn't discourage you from still looking at the facts of the matter, and choosing to live your life in a fear, and what I think is an unjust fear. Because for the majority of us out there, that is absolutely not the case one bit. Now again, sorry to kind of have a bit of a heavy conversation there. It's definitely not something that anybody wants to, you know, we're all ready to get rid of this thing, that's for sure. We're all ready to be done with it. But I hope in the meantime that might help some of you out there who are really struggling with the fear of this, and maybe give you a different light in how to look at things. Yeah, I think that's about all I've got for today. I hope that gives you guys some food for thought. Thank you again for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the ride.